Hello, thank you very much for joining me from wherever you are. And today we're on Daf 36. So for those of you who've never seen this video before, it's I'm using the Steinsaltz edition, Daf Yomi in Sanhedrin, and it's Daf 36 Omodei. And it says, Ma Yom Tov Shenidche Mibnei Kaban Yachid. Ein V'tzicha Docha Oso Kaban Yachid, Shehu Docha Es Yom Tov Ein Adin Shelo Tehei V'tzicha Docha Oso. Just with regard to a festival which is overridden due to an offering of an individual, as voluntary offerings of individual sacrifice on festivals, nevertheless murder does not override it, as the court does not execute one liable to receive court-imposed capital punishment on a festival. With regard to an offering of an individual which overrides the festival, it's logical that murder should not override it. Therefore, unlike the explanation of Abaye, the court should not take a priest to him in the event he is liable to receive capital punishment, and this will result in the offering of an individual not being sacrificed. Rather clarified, this works out well according to one who says that vow offerings and gift offerings, the Dorim and Dovos, vow offerings and gift offerings. The difference between vow offerings and gift offerings is that the obligation to a vow offering relates to an individual who vows, and the obligation of a gift offering relates to a specific animal. In the case of a vow offering, one states, I accept upon myself to bring a burnt offering, and then he designates an animal for that purpose. He is obligated to bring a different offering if the animal he intended to bring dies, or becomes disqualified from being sacrificed. By contrast, with regard to gift offerings, one designates a specific animal as an offering by stating this animal will become a burnt offering. If the animal then dies or becomes disqualified from being brought on the altar, he is exempt from bringing another animal. The individuals are not sacrificed on a festival. The priests do not sacrifice the vow offerings and the gift offerings of individuals on a festival. They do sacrifice them on the intermediate days of a festival. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Kabbalah Chagiga 1.8. And the offerings of individuals do not override the festival. There is no place for this a fortiori inference. But according to the one who says that vow offerings and gift offerings of individuals are sacrificed in the festival, what is it to say? Ma'ika de Meima, a fortiori inference cannot negate a halacha Torah in a verse. As the Abaye's inference is contradicted by the verse, it must be an incorrect inference. Why would one not make the above a fortiori inference? Rather, Rav says that Abaye's explanation of the verse is incorrect, according to all opinions. It is not necessary to say that the inference is incorrect according to the one who says that vow offerings and gift offerings of individuals sacrificed on a festival, as according to that opinion, one cannot justify the verse from my altar at all. And there's no distinction between the offering of an individual and a communal offering, as both override a festival. Accordingly, court-imposed capital punishment should not override either type of offering. But even according to the one who says that vow offerings and gift offerings of individuals are not sacrificed on a festival, in which case, a valid explanation is possible. This is difficult. But it is written for my altar. The term my altar indicates my altar, the offering that dedicated to me. And what offering is this? It is a daily offering, the Talmud. And yet, the merciful one states, you shall not take him from my altar that he may die. Accordingly, the verse is not stated specifically with regard to an offering of an individual. The Mishnah teaches that in cases of monetary law, to the case note, in case of monetary law, in the case of ritual law, the court commences the deliberation by eliciting the opinion of the greatest of the judges. In case of capital, the court commences the deliberation by eliciting the opinion of the least significant of the judges, and the greatest judge states his opinion last. The Ravid maintained that in all cases the court commences the deliberation by eliciting the opinion of the greatest judges, as was done in the court of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, and that's in the Rambam Sefer Shos in Hilchos Sanhedrin 11.6. And likewise, in the case of ritual impurity and purity, the judges commence expressing their opinions from the greatest of the judges. Rav says, I was among the quorum of judges in the school of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Minyana Devei Rabbi. Some explain that the reason why the court of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi deviated from the standard procedure and began deliberations with the least significance of the judges is that his court was involved in establishing permanent and binding halachic rulings for all the Jewish people. Due to the import of the deliberations, they were conducted in a manner usually appropriate only in cases of capital law, Galiat Hayam, and they would commence from me, i.e., I was first when ascertaining the opinion of the judges. The Gemara questions the statement, but we learned in the mission that the judges commenced expressing opinions from the greatest of the judges, and Rav was one of the junior judges of that court. Rabbi, son of Rava, says, and some say it was Rabbi Hill, son of Rabbi Valis. A source of this name is not clear. Some assert it to the Greek name Oyalis, I don't think I pronounced that right, which is a transliteration of the Latin valens, which meaning strong or vigorous. Who says the counting of the vote in the court in the school of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is different, as all their deliberation and the counting of the vote would commence from the side benches. Min Hatzad. Rashi in a parallel person tractor Gittim 59a comments that starting from the side does not mean that the first judge to speak must be the least significant of them, as Rav was an average judge in this court, where the least significant judges sit. This is because Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was held in such high esteem that once he expressed his opinion, no one would be so brazen as to contradict him. And with regard to the greatness of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbi, son of Rabbi, says, and sometimes Rabbi Hillel, son of Rabbi Valis, who says, from the days of Moses until the days of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, we did not find unparalleled greatness in Torah knowledge and unparalleled greatness in secular matters, including wealth and high political office, combined in one place, i.e. in a single individual. The Gemara asks, but was there not such a person? Wasn't there Joshua who was unparalleled in both domains? The Gemara answers, during his time there was Elazar, who was Joshua's equal in Torah knowledge. The Gemara asks, but wasn't there Pinchas, who outlived Elazar? The Gemara answers, there were the elders who were equal to Pinchas in Torah knowledge. The Gemara further objects, but wasn't there Saul, who was unparalleled in both domains? The Gemara answers, there was Samuel, who was Saul's equal in Torah knowledge. The Gemara asks, but didn't Samuel die in Saul's lifetime, leaving Saul leading figure in both domains? The Gemara answers, we meant to say that from the days of Moses until the days of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, there was no other single individual who reigned supreme in Torah and greatness for all the years that he was the leader of the Jewish people. The Gemara asks, but wasn't there David, who was both the greatest Torah authority and the most powerful temple authority of his day? The Gemara answers, there was Eva the Yahurit, who was David's equal in Torah knowledge. The Gemara judged, but didn't Eva the Yahurit die in David's lifetime? The Gemara answers, what we meant to say that there was no single individual who reigned supreme in Torah and greatness for all the years and that he was the leader of the Jewish people. The Gemara asks, but wasn't there Solomon? It was unparalleled in both domains. The Gemara answers, during his day there was Shimi ben Gera. Shimi ben Gera was Solomon's teacher and was head of the Sanhedrin. I think explains that he was wealthy as well. See Hayim Shanaim Yishanim, who was Solomon's master in Torah knowledge. The Gemara objects, but didn't Solomon kill him at the beginning of his reign? See Kings 1 Kings chapter 2. The Gemara answers, we meant to say that there was no single individual who reigned supreme in Torah and greatness for all the years that he was the leader of the Jewish people. The Gemara further, it was the Hezekiah, who was both the leading Torah scholar of his age and also the king of his people. The Gemara says there was Shebna in that generation. It was Hezekiah's equal in Torah knowledge. The Gemara asks, but wasn't he killed in the war against Sennacherib? The Gemara answers, we meant to say that there was no other single individual who reigned supreme in Torah and greatness for all the years that he was leader of the Jewish people. The Gemara asks, but wasn't it Ezra, who was the greatest Torah sage of his day and the leader of the Jewish people? The Gemara answers, there was Nehemiah, son of Hachaliah, and in Hebrew Chachaliah, who was his equal. Amarav Adaban Ahava. I also say a similar statement, and from the days of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi until the days of Rav Ashi, we do not find unparalleled greatness in Torah knowledge and unparalleled greatness in secular matters, including wealth and high political office combined in one place and in a single individual. The Gemara asks, but was there not such a person? Wasn't there Huna bar Nathan, who lived in the time of Rav Ashi and enjoyed both great Torah scholarship and great wealth? The Gemara says, Huna bar Nathan was subordinate to Rav Ashi, who was superior in both domains. The Mishnah teaches that in cases of capital law, the judges commence issuing their opinions from the side benches, where the least significant judge sits. The Gemara asks, from where these matters derived? Ahaba Papa says, the verse states, neither shall you answer in a cause. Al-Riv, Exodus 23:2. Nosana Al-Riv. The early commentators explain that this does not mean that a judge of lower stature is prohibited from disagreeing with a judge of greater stature. Rather, it should be understood as a directive to the judge of great stature not to intimidate the judge of lower stature into following their opinions unquestioningly. The Rabbah and the Rabbis. And the sage interpret, neither shall you answer after the master al-Rab, i.e., do not dispute the opinion of the greatest of the judges. Therefore, were the judges to commence issuing their opinions from the greatest of them, therefore, were the judges to commence issuing their opinion from the greatest of them, and he would say that the accused is liable, no judge would acquit him. Rabbi Bahana says, that Rabbi Yochanan says, the source of this practice is from here. When David decided to punish Nabal Carmelite, the verse states, and David said to his men, every man gird his sword, and every man girded his sword, and David also girded his sword. 1 Samuel 25:13. That was a case of capital law, and David, the greatest among them, was last. Amarav, Shena Adam Nathamido, Vadan Imo Bedine Nafosha. So a person may teach a student development material and then judge the case of capital law with him. And he don't participate in the deliberation service when the judge. The Gemara raised an objection from a Bright in 7:2. In case of ritual purity and impurity, if two of the judges are a father and a son, or a teacher and a student, however, Talmidah or Cholur, if a teacher and a student are in the same court, the teacher may teach a student the reason for his opinion, and the student may rely upon that in deciding his own opinion. When the teacher told him the relevant halacha before the deliberations began, so that the student can understand the issue at hand on his own, they count as two when it is time to tally the votes. This halacha only with regard to case of capital law, case involving punishment of lashes, a court discussing the sanctification of the new moon, and case of monetary law. By contrast, with regard to a case of ritual law, a teacher and a student are counted as two, even if the teacher teaches the student during the deliberations. Rama Sefer Shov, Hilchot Sanhedrin 11:7, Ken Shulchan Aruch Mishpat 18:5, and the comment of the Rama. The court counts them as two opinions by inference in case of monetary law, in case of capital law, and in cases of laws involving the punishment of lashes, as well as court proceedings concerning sanctification of the month and intercalation of the year. Ibo Hashana, its intercalation of the year. The Jewish calendar follows a lunar cycle of 12 months of 29 or 30 days. It is also related to the solar calendar, as the festivals must be held in their appropriate seasons. In particular, Passover must be at the time of the barley harvest in the spring, and Sukkot at the time of the autumnal equinox. Since the solar year is slightly more than 11 days longer than the lunar year, 30 months is periodically added after the month of Adar to compensate for this difference. This month is called Second Adar. During the period when the calendar was set every year by the Sanhedrin, the decision of whether to add the extra month required a unique process performed by the court. Since the 4th century CE, the Jewish calendar is operated on a fixed astronomical system using a 19-year cycle correlating to the lunar and solar calendars. Second Adar is added in the 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 17th, and 19th years of each cycle. If the two judges are father and son, or a teacher and a student, the court counts them only as one. This cannot be referring to when the votes are tallied, as a father and son cannot be part of the same court. Rather, it is referring to the stage of deliberation and is saying that the other judges should not view them as expressing two concurrent opinions, thereby giving that opinion greater weight, but should realize that the son or student is merely repeating the opinion of the father or the teacher. Rabbi Yehuda of Barcelona, Hammer, Vahi, and Sidaban. And it is assumed that the son or student will merely echo the opinion of his father or teacher. this contradicts the ruling of Rav. Moving on to Amud B. The Gemara answers, when the Rav says his statement, he is referring to not every student, but only to those as Rav Kahana and Rav Asi. Kigona Rav Kahana V'chol. Who the distinction can be seen from the fact that there was a Sanhedrin at the time of Moses. Although he taught all of its members, they could serve on the court, as they were capable of conducting their own analysis, says Ramah. And Rav Asi, who needed to learn the halachic traditions of Rav, but they did not need to learn the reasoning of Rav. If a student needs to learn the various halachic traditions from his teacher, but is capable of reading independently, his opinion is counted separately from that of his teacher, even in case of capital of Rambam Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Sanhedrin 11:10, Mishpat 18:5, and they were capable of conducting their own analysis. Rabbi Abahu says, there are 10 ways in which cases of monetary law are different from cases of capital law, as was taught in the beginning of the chapter, and none of them is practiced. The Meiri adds that the court procedures in place for adjudicating cases of capital law apply also to a case concerning exile for unintentional killing. These procedures, with the exception of the requirement that there will be 23 judges, also apply to cases of transgressions punishable with lashes. With regard to a court hearing concerning an ox that is to be stoned, the court proceedings concerning an ox that is to be stoned are identical with respect to those in the case of monetary law, with the exception that there is a requirement of 23 judges. Rambam Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Sanhedrin 11:4. Shor HaNizkar. An ox that has killed a person is stoned to death, regardless of whether the ox previously behaved maliciously or was a first-time offender. This halacha applies whether the victim was an adult, a child, or a Canaanite slave. It's prohibited to derive any benefit from an ox that has been sentenced to be stoned from the moment the court, a tribunal of 23 judges, has delivered its verdict and after it is killed. The term an ox that is stoned is employed to refer to any animal that has killed a person, whether the animal is large or small. Even birds are included in this halacha. It is treated as a case of monetary law, except for the requirement that the animal be judged by 22 judges like a case of capital law. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Ahaba Papa says, as the verse says, you shall not incline the judgment of your poor in his cause, Exodus 23:6. Mishpat Evyonecha, while the obligation to give effort to acquit one accused of capital transgression derived from the verse, congregation shall deliver, Numbers 35:25, the verse cited here serves to exclude from that obligation the ox that is on trial to be stoned, the Maratha, and may do Rabbeinu Peretz. Although the verse speaks of a poor person, the sages understood that this is not a reference to one who is poor in a financial sense, and there will be no reason to think that one would attempt to find a poor person liable. There is a similar interpretation of another verse, open your mouth for the mute, in the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction, Proverbs 31:8, in which the phrase such as are appointed to destruction is understood to be referring to those accused of capital transgressions. The following verse there states, plead the cause of the poor and needy, thereby supporting the identification of a poor person in the verse cited in Gemara here as one accused of a capital transgression in the Gemara. He explains, you may not incline the judgment of, I exert effort to find liable or poor, but you may incline the judgment of an ox that is to be stoned. The reason for the procedural differences between cases of monetary law and cases of capital law is to render it more likely that one accused of a capital transgression will be acquitted. It is not a factor when judging the ox. The Gemara asks, are there really 10 ways in which cases of monetary law are different from cases of capital law? There are only 9 differences recorded in the Mishnah. The Gemara questions this. But the Mishnah teaches 10 differences, not 9. The Gemara clarifies, although there appears to be 10, there are in fact 9. The halacha that not all are fit to judge cases of capital law, the halacha of 22 judges are required for capital cases are 1. The reason not all are fit to judge cases of capital law is that the court of 23 derived from the command to Moses, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, Numbers 11:17, which indicates that only those with you, I have similar lineage to Moses, can sit on that court. 17a, the Gemara answers, but there is another difference. As is taught in the Bible in Sefta 7:5, the court does not seat on the Sanhedrin. In Meshivin b'Sanhedrin, the court does not seat on the Sanhedrin one who is extremely old or one who is castrated, as they may lack compassion. Those who have recently raised children tend to be more compassionate. I must say for Shevin Hilchot Sanhedrin 2:3, a very old person. Zakein, some explain that elderly people are often short-tempered, says the Ramah, or one who is castrated, one who has no children, as those who have not recently raised children may lack compassion. Rabbi Huda adds, even a cruel person is not eligible. The Gemara comments on the opposite of this halacha with regard to one who entices others to engage in idol worship. In the trial of one who entices others to idol worship, the court may seat a judge who is extremely old or is castrated, as there is no attempt to have compassion on the accused. On the contrary, cruelty to the one who leads others astray is compassion for all others. Let's see if we show in Hilchot Sanhedrin 11:5. Again, as the merciful one states concerning him, neither shall you spare, neither shall you conceal him, in Deuteronomy 39. The Mishnah teaches that all are fit to judge cases of monetary law. All men born Jewish are fit to judge cases of monetary law, including the son of a convert. A convert can judge a case of another convert. A mamzer is fit to judge cases of monetary law, and even all three judges may be mamzerim. Mamzer for Shoftim Hilchot Sanhedrin 2:9. 11:11, Shulchan Aruch Mishpat 7:1-2. The Gemara asks, what is added by the Mishnah's employing the expansive term all? Rav Yehuda says, it serves to include a child born from an incestuous or adulterous relationship, a mamzer. A mamzer is a child born from a forbidden relationship that is punishable by karet, an adulterous or incestuous relationship. The exception to this is a child conceived by a menstruating woman with whom sexual intercourse is punishable by karet. A mamzer inherits from his natural father, and Tanakh is considered his father's son in all respects. A mamzer may marry only a mamzeret, a female mamzer, or convert to Judaism. Likewise, a mamzeret may marry only a mamzer or convert. The offspring of the juniors are mamzerim as well. The category of those qualified to judge cases of monetary law. The Gemara questions this explanation, but we already learned this halacha one time. Although this Mishnah repeats several halachas stated elsewhere, Rabbi Huda, by asking what the inclusive term all serves to include, evidently maintained that there is a novelty stated in this halacha in the Ran and the Rosh, as it is taught in a Braita. All of who are fit to judge case of capital law are fit to judge case of monetary law, but there are those who are fit to judge case of monetary law and are not fit to judge case of capital law, and we discussed it. What is included in the expansion all by the Baita? Rabbi Huda says it serves to include a mamzer. The Gemara responds, one of the two sources serves to include a convert. At 2-year ger, some say that a convert who is clearly a great scholar among the judges can serve as head of the court, contrary to the Torah. See Birkei Yosef, who is qualified to judge any case of monetary law, and one of the two sources serves to include a mamzer. The Gemara comments, and both the Mishnah and the Braita are necessary. Halacha taught by one source cannot be derived from the halacha taught by another source. As if the Tana taught us the fitness to judge case of monetary law only with regard to a convert, one could say that a convert is like a born Jew. Concerning this, since he is fitted into the congregation, I married you fit lineage, but with regard to a mamzer who is not fit into the congregation, say that he cannot serve as a judge, And if the Tana taught us the fitness to judge cases with regard only with regard to a mamzer, we'll go say that a mamzer is fit to judge as it came from a seed of an unflawed lineage, but with regard to a convert who does not come from a seed of an unflawed lineage, say that he cannot serve as a judge. Therefore, both sources are necessary. The Mishnah teaches, but not all are fit to judge cases of capital law. In case of capital, only priests, Levites, and Israelites of sufficiently fit lineage to marry their daughters to members of the priesthood can serve as judges. The Rambam say for Shuvim Hilchos Sanhedrin 2:1, 9, 11, 11. The judges may only be priests, Levites, or Israelites who are of sufficiently fit lineage to marry their daughters to members of the priesthood. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for this? The Gemara explains, as Yosef taught, just as a court is clean and justice, so too is clean of any blemish. Manukin mikol mum, just as judges must be righteous, so they must be free of any physical blemish, in accordance to the statement of a Maimah. I'm going to say for Shuvim Hilchos Sanhedrin 2:6. It does not include anyone of flawed lineage. A Maimah says, what is the verse from which it derived? It states, you are all fair, my love. Kulach yafa va'yasi. Although this phrase is allegorically addressed to the Jewish people, it cannot be referring to all of the Jewish people, as there are many of flawed lineage in that group. Therefore, it must be referring to a particular group within the Jewish people. According to the interpretation of sages, referring to the Sanhedrin, others note that the letters of the Hebrew word kula has a numerical value of 70, the number of judges in the high courts of the Gemara. And there is no blemish in Song of Songs 4:7. The Gemara asks, but perhaps you should say this is referring to an actual blemish, and is teaching that one who has a physical blemish cannot be pointed to the Sanhedrin. Rav Aha bar Yaakov says, it's not necessary to learn from this verse, the halacha, that one who has a physical blemish cannot be pointed to the Sanhedrin, as the verse states, in connection with the transfer of the divine spirit from Moses to the elders, but they may stand there with you, in Numbers 11:16. The term with you is explained to mean with similarity to you, teaching that the members of the Sanhedrin must be whole in body, like Moses. The Gemara rejects this proof, but perhaps they who were with Moses had to be free of any blemish due to the divine presence, which was going to rest upon them. But this is not a requirement for judges to serve on the Sanhedrin. Rather, Rav Naaman bar Yitzchak says, the verse states, so shall they make it easier for you and bear the burden with you, Exodus 18:22. The term with you is explained to mean they should be similar to you without blemish. The verse is referring to the appointment of regular judges upon whom the divine presence does not rest, and teaches that all men in the Sanhedrin must be whole in body. And the verse from the Song of Songs teaches that they must have unflawed lineage as well. And the final Mishnah, son of this Daf, Sanhedrin Gaon Agula. A Sanhedrin of 23 judges was arranged in the same layout as half of a circle of a threshing floor. The Sanhedrin was sitting in a semicircle so that all judges could see one another. Rambam Sefer Shuvim Hilchos Sanhedrin 1:3. And it's got a picture here. Now they're all sitting on the floor in a semicircle, okay. In order that all judges will see one another and the witnesses. The judges' scribes, Shnei Sofri had Yonin V'chula, 2 judges' scribes stand before the Sanhedrin, one on the right and one on the left. One writes the statements of those who find the accused liable, and the other writes the statements of those who acquit the accused. Say V'shovtim Hilchos Sanhedrin 1:9. Stand before the court, one on the right and one on the left, and they write statements of those who find the accused liable. The reason for having 2 scribes is that they can serve as witnesses if the judge later denies saying what they've recorded in his name, says Ramah. And statements they write of those who find him liable, some explain that even according to the opinion of the first Tana, each scribe would record the opinions of only one group, those who find liable and those who acquit, respectively in the Meiri. Stand before the court, and I said that, and the statements of those who acquit the accused. Rabbi Yehuda says there were 3 scribes. One writes only the statements of those who acquit the accused. One writes the statements of those who find him liable, and the third writes both the statements of those who acquit the accused and the statements of those who find him liable. So that if there's uncertainty concerning the precise wording that one of the scribe writes, it can be compared with the words of the third scribe. And that's the end of the Daf. I wish you a very good Shabbos and a very good day, and feel free to leave any comments and pass on my channel to anyone else, and take care. All the best.